All right. And we're live. Welcome to paraglidingtalk.com. I'm your host, Robert Michaels. Glad you're here. We've got a great show lined up. Super stoked about this episode. This episode is with Harley Milne. If you don't know Harley, you're going to know him before the end of this episode. You're going to be astonished at what he's pulled off, what he's accomplished. So we're super stoked about that. I've got some. I ended up hiding my. I don't know if that's feeding back. I ended up hiding the very video that pops up with all the noise. So I just got that under control. There we go. So I want to mention a couple sponsors. One of those is PPG Smoke. PPGsmoke.com is the website. Maybe you got a paramotor, you've got, or you're a free flight guy. You want to maybe catch some of those images. You've seen the chase cam where you're flying along and you got just that perfect view. It's like a drone's chasing you around. PPGsmoke.com has those. Great deal. Version 2 of that is out. I have those here behind me. Super cool. If you want to get your own, PPGsmoke.com. Yeah, these chase cams are amazing. They're very reasonably priced compared to the market. That was Ryan Roberts' intention when he engineered those things and put them out. He was not trying to buy Lambos. He was just trying to help out the flying community. Also, so there's some updates. There's 20 units now that are here for the Unity headset. I don't know if they're 2.0 yet or whatever, but I should be getting a pair pretty quick here to test out. And so if you're waiting on those, just keep waiting. You're fine. Okay. You're fine. I know that there's some chaos with that. And so anyways, very soon we're going to have Ryan Roberts on the show again. We've been talking. Follow him on Instagram, by the way. One of the other sponsors is Paramotor Props. Paramotorprops.com is the website. They have an awesome, actually, they're the ones that sent me this shirt, One Up Paragliding. But they have an amazing thing going with props. So go check out their website. Maybe you accidentally mess up and you bust up some props. They really do know what they're talking about. So if you have to get them on the phone or reach out to them on their contact page about what size, maybe you're thinking, I want to swap to a tri prop. They have those, and they'll get you set up with the right thing for your motor, your size. They'll factor all those things in, so you order the right thing. And they're amazing people too. So you want to support amazing people? Paramotorprop.com. Paramotorprops.com. I'll also want to mention American Allied Drains and Plumbing. They're your plumbing company. And now they're actually doing restoration. So you can reach out to them to 844-777-9055 for your plumbing stuff. You mentioned Paragliding Talk, you get a 10% discount. And I imagine that there'll be a kickback if you mention Paragliding Talk for your flood restoration needs. Just saying. So mention Paragliding Talk for either of those things, and it's going to benefit you well. And I know a bunch of people in north of us got flooded out. And so they're super busy right now. I know that's it's a crazy time to have a restoration company. So that's it for the sponsors. Tonight's episode, 50X Challenge, Harley Milne. If you don't know who he is, he flew coast to coast across the United States. That was one of the big things. He also has a world record. The Guinness Book of World Records recognized him for flying in all 50 states in the United States of America in the fastest time. Super cool what he did. He wasn't some selfish ambition that he went. He actually did it for charity. He would go to each state and raise up some money for whatever charity that they selected. And so humble guy has lives in a trailer. It's not like he's some high flyer multi-millionaire guy that's just going out and boasting all over the place. He doesn't care about any of that. His life is adventure. The next step was the adventure wingman and Sonoma to Oshkosh. So he literally flew unsupported from Sonoma to the Oshkosh event that they have there, way up there in Wisconsin. And all kinds of cool things came out of that, and adventures and relationships. So we're going to talk a little bit about that. And so I want to just give you the floor. Also, the biggest announcement about tonight. This is huge. I wish I had the drum roll machine out. Dreamlifterparamotors.com. This is the website you're going to want to queue up. This is now Harley Milne's school, if you will. And he is now a official sponsor, paraglidingtalk.com. So we're going to add him to the website, do all kinds of things. So you're going to see and hear him every episode now. So we're excited about that. So if you're in Southern California, and especially if you're in that middle area of amazingness in California, I know that California gets a bad rap. You can now get training. Many guys would come to me, and I can't tell you how many times I've had guys come to me. I want to get in paramotor training, and I'm like, I got two choices, and I'm sending people to the East Coast. I don't know what to do. So now we've got a school here that I can send people to. I'm super stoked about that. So thanks, Harley, for coming on. Super stoked about tonight's show.
Thank you so much for having me back. It's always so much fun to be on the show with you guys. I do have a pretty big soft spot for your show because you kind of gave me my break at the beginning of the 50-state tour.
I forgot about that.
How that invitation really came about, but I got back and you were like, yeah, come on.
Yeah. I remember getting the email and I'm like, this guy's nuts. He's going to do this. It's crazy. Yeah. I honestly, when I first read it, I thought to myself, that's not possible. Can't do that. But you did it, man. Then you got the where's the trophy? I want to see it. Don't you have the world record placard?
Well, this is the first time anyone's going to see it. I haven't even had official pictures taken yet, but there it is. It took a little while to get here, all the way from the United Kingdom, and to work through all the hassle of doing it. But yeah, finally have a certificate, and at some point I'll get a nice picture taken and we'll put it up somewhere.
Whenever I'm turning homework late, I always just blame COVID. So we'll just blame that on COVID. That's why it took so long.
I'm proud of. I guess so.
Of you.
Sean, you froze up there. What'd you say?
I said, I'm proud of you, Harley. That's a great accomplishment, and it's always nice to have something positive sitting on the wall, that just makes you feel good inside. You did something awesome and great for a lot of things, for a lot of people.
Yep. Super cool.
I mean, that's what I've always enjoyed, sort of approaching this sport as, is like, I'm just trying to do something that's fun for me, and keep me sort of smiling as best I can sometimes. And in the process try and be a good ambassador for the sport. And that's probably one of the things that I'm most proud about, is I'd like to believe I'm a pretty decent ambassador, and some of the cool things I do are just avenues to be able to go do that.
Yeah, love that. Want to talk about the Sonoma to Oshkosh a little bit. So we actually had an episode where you came on, and you can go back and actually catch some of the nitty gritty details when they were fresh. Some of the conversations we actually had. Harley jumped on the show a couple of times while he was in the middle of the adventure and shared. I think one time he was on the show. It was raining, and so he was kind of grounded anyways, and hung out with us for a little while. Just Want to Fly just mentioned that he said it was cool to get introduced to Harley. It was cool to get to introduce Harley to the crowd as he flew into Wisconsin's EAA. That's pretty cool.
That's right.
So that little video, that little clip, I remember seeing that, and everybody's kind of watching you come in from nowhere. All the aircraft had to take a chill pill for a second, and you just come and fly and land, and people are probably like, who's that dude? The president? What the heck? Pretty cool though that you got to do that. David Ruff donated $5 to the super chat. He said, Harley who? Laugh out loud. Sup guys? Welcome, David. Appreciate that contribution.
been a little while.
So maybe let's just talk about what were the highlights of that Sonoma to Oshkosh. Is there anything that we can bring to people that are watching the show tonight that they can add to their flying safer book, if you will, and maybe for their journals?
Yeah, so I think I've got a few things I wanted to sort of talk about in general around it. First of all, of course, I did the initial show with you when I announced that I wanted to do it, and that I had planned to go ahead. And then, the one thing that I've often had feedback from is like, well, they want to know what's behind the scenes. They don't want to just see me make it to a certain point or make it to the very end and then it's all over. They kind of want more of the backstory. And so I've tried much harder, particularly with the Sonoma to Oshkosh, to give a lot more of the backstory. So in the first show, I announced it, and then I went ahead and I produced a lot of video around my training regime, around some of the equipment that I had, some of the safety mechanisms, and my approach to planning. So particularly for people who are going to do cross-country planning in a big way, that planning video I think is almost 30 minutes long, but it really goes into tremendous depth of what I did. And I had several people from Adventure Wingman actually reach out to me, and now those people are actually with Team Fly Halo, taking their experience from the Adventure Wingman and actually starting to broaden and actually teach and help people do some of these big cross countries. And then, of course, I did complete the trip, and I came back on the show and I talked in some detail about it. But I think that what I've tried to focus on over the last 5 months, which first of all, I kind of went AWOL or SOL for the last 5 months because I was working on my instrument rating as a private pilot.
Oh yeah, and I forgot about that.
I wish somebody had let me in on what I was getting into, because I thought I was going to get it done in 2 months flat. And it turns out that flying coast to coast, Sonoma to Oshkosh, around 50 states is easy when you compare it to what it took to get my instrument rating.
Cool.
So, finally, just before Christmas, I was successful in getting through my check ride, and lots of failure along the way. I had one rescheduled for administrative reasons, and then I had my next check ride scheduled, and I went ahead and I bombed out in the oral portion, and so finally in December I got through, but even then I messed up one of my approaches, and I had to redo that. So it's been a busy 5 months, but the moment that was done, I had this opportunity to actually write a blog, and a detailed blog about the whole trip. So if people really want to go back in and get a lot of the detail, if they go to 50xchallenge.info, they can look at all those blogs related to Sonoma to Oshkosh, and if they start at the very end, they get to sort of read through and digest over a prolonged period of time, not only what took place before, but also now that I finally finished the actual trip itself. I broke it up into 5 parts, which sort of gives some idea just how much detail I really went into in talking about the events and the things that happened, the things that didn't go as well as I had hoped, and so forth. And then even, I think the very last one that I posted was called the After Show, where I sort of bundled up a few things. So that, I think that was done sort of just after Christmas, just before the new year, when I published all of those. And I would encourage people who are doing cross countries to go do that. But the big thing that I also wanted to share tonight, and really you guys are the premiere, was that I finally finished a 2-part film of the Sonoma to Oshkosh. And that basically covers from the morning that I took off in the very, very early hours in the dark, and what that looked like. And that's footage that no one's seen before. And then broke it up into 2 20-minute parts that covered the first half up until when things went terribly wrong. And I made the decision to keep going with a lot of encouragement from people to the second half of sort of coming into Oshkosh and what that experience actually looked like. So we finally now actually have a nice film that really showed all that. It's not as detailed in terms of all the things that kind of didn't quite go well as the blog is. So if you really want more of the backstory, that's where it is. And I know a lot of people don't read anymore, but you can supplement between the video and the footage. And so I'm kind of proud of what the film is. Probably not the most amazing editing job, but I think people will love the story. If you've liked any of the stories about adventure wingman and some of the footage, like JT Waddle, who's just a great guy, puts out he's put out quite a lot of stuff about that, right? So I think he covered, I don't know, about 900 miles over the about 900 miles out of a 10-day trip. And I did 1,900 miles in 7 days. So it's pretty cool.
That's a lot of flying.
Was a lot of flying. Yeah. So I hope people will love it. I think somebody put up the links for it. You guys are literally the premiere, the first whoever number of people are actually on and watching get to see those two videos. And I think the first 5 minutes of the night flight was just incredibly exciting too.
Yeah, and probably a little terrifying as well.
It was. I'm still surprised. I think people are afraid to ask because they're like, well, how did you go ahead and fly at night? Under Part FAR 103, we're not allowed to fly at night. And nobody seems to want to ask me how I did that. So I think I should just put it out there, which is that,
I know.
I filed and I requested an FAA waiver, and it took me 6 months and I jumped through a lot of hoops. And ultimately, they did eventually give me that waiver, primarily because I am a private pilot with a night rating. And all of the equipment that I flew with, radios, strobes, ADSB, the whole works, gave me a much higher level, and at least equivalent to what any regular general aviation plane would have during flight. So that's how I got it, and that was my big master plan. I don't think it would have been possible to do it in those 6 to 7 days. Without it, because I had more than 8 hours of flying at night alone. So that would have added another full day just by itself. And it was some scary flights, that's not easy. Most people, when they might take off and fly at night, unofficially in a few places, they might take off and fly around the LZ a little bit and then come back in and land at the familiar area. This was covering 2.5 to 3 hours and change, and covering anything from 70 to about 120 miles to an airport that I'd never been to before. So it was a big deal.
That was probably the craziest, in my opinion. That's one of the crazier adventures because of the dynamics. Like, sometimes having to launch at higher altitudes with all that weight, having to figure out, like, okay, now, like, you screwed up, blew up a prop. I've got to figure out how to make this happen. I'm not going to give up. And then pushing through, where this is not mandatory, right? It's literally just you're challenging yourself to see, like, and you literally stretched yourself to the max. People don't sign themselves up for stuff like that. They just don't. In our generation, I feel like our generation has become so soft, so needy. Everything has to be kind of like handed to you. Everything's got to be, it's got to have sugar in it. And if you're going to get involved, the old school
identify as a paramotor pilot. I'm just saying, I identify as a paramotor pilot.
Yeah. And I will say paramotor pilots are adventurous, right? I mean, especially
Got to be.
we all come in and get into it so that we are looking for that adventure. I've just been very lucky, and I've had the opportunity to do a couple more of these trips. But for a lot of people wanting to get into this type of adventure, I really liked what Adventure Wingman achieved this year, which was kind of a mini Icarus, but with an amazing framework to help people out if things didn't quite go to plan. And of course, for almost every single pilot out of the 16 or 18 pilots that did that trip, not a single pilot, to my knowledge, successfully flew the entire length of that trip over those 10 days. They all at some point had to land somewhere and thumb a lift on the back of somebody's truck. But I will say this: what those guys endured from a weather perspective, I don't think there's a single pilot there that will not have an amazing story about what they personally achieved, and sort of the great lengths of dealing with the weather, the high altitude, and getting through that trip. I really think they did an incredible job. And Canyon at Team Fly Halo, I can't wait till that they do another one, because it was a pity I didn't actually fly it. I had wanted to, but I had barely been back a few weeks from Sonoma to Oshkosh. And what a lot of people don't realize, especially as you get a little bit older, it takes a little bit of coming back from it after a while.
We're falling apart.
Yep. Just a little bit.
That's funny. Yeah, we've also got some other things I wanted to talk about. You had mentioned the EAA chapter, EAA Experimental Aircraft Association, and you had mentioned California in specific, kind of caught my attention. And something that we do often on the show is in the pre-show, we'll talk about things and I'll just go, okay, don't say any more. But the guest will be talking about something great. I'm like, don't say any more. We want to keep it fresh. I don't want it to be a repeat when you come on the show. It's ought to be organic. So right. You mentioned that, but we didn't really talk about that. Let's break that down. What were you talking about? What were your thoughts on that? And
share. So I guess one of the, I came into paramotoring like a lot of people, which is that, aviation is this just thing it's too expensive and too difficult and too regulated. And so we find out about paramotors and go like, oh my God, we have all this freedom to go do all kinds of things, and it's amazing. But as once I became a private pilot, I start to really appreciate more some of the knowledge and the requirements that you have to have there. And one of the big challenges that we have here in Northern California in particular is it's very difficult to find LZs and locations and open public land that we can go take off from.
No doubt.
Trying to approach private farmers and all that kind of thing is just proven difficult, because no one wants the liability, even though there really isn't in the way that people think there is. So one of the things that, as I've opened up a lot of the airports, I often contact local airport managers and sort of work towards producing what we call standard operating procedures, or SOPs. And as I started looking towards looking for locations to open my paramotor school, what I wanted to do was also try and reach out to more of the aviation world that's here. And so, if you're going to go fly at an airport, becoming part of that airport community is kind of pretty important, so that you understand what's going on there and you can fit in. And kind of as Chris Santacroce put it in one of his latest videos, if you can achieve being there and part of that community without being the fly, but rather the eagle that people go like, oh, there's an eagle flying, kind of makes a lot of sense. And so what I've often tried to do is I engage with the local safety. I go to the safety meetings for that local airport, where people come together and they just talk about aviation in general and accidents and activities around the airport and the cool fly-ins. And the other thing that when I was trying to see if I could get access to an airport that's got a lot of space, but it happens to be in a Class D airport, to see if there's an opportunity that maybe I can train there, that led me to contact the local EAA chapter, which in my case is up in Santa Rosa. And what a lot of people don't realize is Experimental Aircraft Association, right, which is kind of what we are as paramotorists. They have a lot of cool things going on about fly-ins. And so when I showed up there and I told them a little bit about me, they were really curious and very interested to find out what I did, and have even invited me to come in, do a presentation. And so that's going to happen with the Civil Air Patrol, and now with the with the EAA local chapter. And so I want to encourage people, if you're flying in these communities, be part of the bigger community and continue to share what paramotoring is all about. And that way we're sharing about, how safe we can be, the kinds of things that we are aware of. Maybe they share some things that they're aware of at those local areas. And so that's kind of my encouragement, is join the local airport community that's there, join the local EAA chapter, and show up. And if you love flying, that's kind of the thing to do. So, and I've learned a great deal. Like for example, I found out that this local chapter, they're talking about opening up a grass field at that airport, which is
that's awesome.
Exactly what I'm looking for, right? And then they will also help to navigate the relationship with the airport management to enable me to go fly there and bring other paramotor pilots there and so forth, which for the Bay Area is exactly what we need. We're trying to put as little pressure on the locations. I mean, one of the things I'm very proud of the local paramotor pilots, I think we're upwards of 120 in the group now, maybe 150. And there's probably 30 or 40 different pilots that fly all around the Bay Area. And what a lot of them do is they go to, a different airport every single time that they fly. And that helps to really spread our footprint, and so that we're not annoying in any way. And I think that's one of the reasons we've been so successful here. So I think it's we're sharing with people.
Yeah, that's great information. Also wanted to bring up one of the other questions that popped up in the chat. This is a general aviation question, mixed. This is from Jim CR120. Said, question for Harley and any other general aviation pilots who also PPG. Have you found a communication setup that doesn't suck? What are your preferred headset and radio choice? I'm interested in this answer too.
I think there's some very strong opinions. You just got to follow the groups. For me personally, I like the micro avionics setup that's produced in the UK. Wisconsin Flight Sports sells it here in the US. I think it is by far the best connected system out there. I know a lot of people are starting to do more Bluetooth again, and that seems like it's been a little more reliable with some of the latest products that are out there. I just personally, if you're just talking with your friends, those Bluetooth scenarios probably are just fine, because if you lose communication, it's not a big deal. But most of the time when I'm flying airport to airport, I want to have some pretty solid ones. And so the micro avionics one for me has been by far the nicest product that's out there. I think the one thing that you tend to have a problem with when you're using aviation radios and the paramotors is that we get a lot of the electrical noise from the spark plug, essentially in the wire following from the coil all the way to the spark plug. And so two things that I have done there. One is that you can buy this insulation mesh on like Amazon, and you really want to have that come all the way up the wire and actually cover the whole spark plug rubber mount. And that provides a huge amount of insulation. And then the other thing I did, and I used it for the Sonoma to Oshkosh, was goodness, and his name just slipped my mind. I'll have to look it up in a second, but I had a long antenna made for me. Mark Ingman made it up for me. And I strung that up through the lines, and it's very high up in the glider itself. And so that moves the antenna portion away from picking up all that engine noise. So if you're flying 2 meter, you don't have that problem. But if you're flying aviation radios, this is one way to do it. I'm experimenting at the moment with some longer cables that connect to the BNC on my radio, and I can just run a long cable and then put the little rubber ducky on the very end. And I've had a little bit of success with that, but it's really hard to find good aviation antennas that can be separated like that. They're really just not made for our sport in any way, and it's impossible to find other kinds of antennas. One of the other things a couple of the guys have done is while they're flying, they'll actually put that longer line with the rubber ducky, and they'll just hang it down below them, which is fine if you're high. And then once you get back, sort of back to, 1,000 feet and you're getting ready to land, you can just coil it up and stick it in your bag and you're fine. So just depends how much communication and who you're talking with. If you're at, non-towered airports, which is how most of us are, you're just listening. You tend not to be talking to other airplanes. So, you don't need to worry too much about that noise during the communication piece.
Will Fly donated $5 to the super chat. He said Resurgence PPG rocks. Thank you, Will Fly. I feel like Will Fly literally has been holding it down for the super chats. He's just faithful. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. So let's maybe take a break and spin the wheel and give something away. How shall we?
Yeah.
Sean.
I got one of these again too that you guys can spend an extra time.
Oh, nice. All right, let's do it.
Got a couple of those left.
All right.
I think my mom got one of those. She was all stoked.
That's awesome. Thank you, Harley. That's great. All right. So there we go. You can see my screen, right?
Yep.
Okay.
I'm also going to give, I got some stickers I want to give away.
Rolling.
Spin the wheel. The spin of this wheel is brought to you by Nebraska PPG. Josh Bowden runs a school in Nebraska. And if you're interested in some top-notch training, you can sign up with Josh and his team today. There's a link in the description. Also, the spin of this wheel is brought to you by Calamity Kite Clinic. Sean Nafsker runs that organization. If you want to get a hold of him, you can go to CalamityKiteClinic.com. Get better at ground handling. Be the best you can be. Oh, man. Slow. Oh, too fast. Oh, almost garden farmer. It's going to be Sean Nafsker.
There ain't no way. You got to be kidding me. Yep. You got to be kidding me.
It's rigged.
You got to be kidding me. And it's not rigged. It's not. It says random wheel of names on it. Rigged. No, it's probably mom. Oh, PR. Oh,
she won last
it's PR. Time. Congratulations, Linda.
Mom already got one of those patches. So, Mom, you're getting one of the paraglidingtalk.com stickers.
Now, wait a minute, Robert.
Okay.
Now,
spin it again.
Harley had said for a second spin.
Yeah.
That was our first spin. So congratulations, Linda.
Yeah. So Mom wins the Paragliding Talk sticker, and she needs one.
Now, this is a special sticker. Now, this next sticker is from Harley. Harley, are you going to sign? Going to sign on that wing of that patch? Is that a patch or a sticker?
It's actually a patch with the Velcro backing on it because I needed to be able to put them on my different flight suits. So you can literally put that on. So it's pretty cool. I'm happy to sign it if the person who's getting it wants it.
That's awesome.
I might need to get like a gold pin or something.
See, I want to win one of those.
Yeah,
absolutely. So I'm gonna bring this back up. We're gonna spin again for the patch from Harley.
Let's do it.
You know, you're getting this from a world record holder. All right, this isn't just anybody. This is a world record holder. Somebody that has done something that is phenomenal.
That's right.
Here we go.
I don't know how many people are on, but like if at least I don't know, if 50 people from this show who are not current subscribers of my YouTube channel do subscribe, I might have to give away the balance. I think I might have about another 6 or 7 of those. So
nice. Yeah, you should. By the way, so right now, when we started the show, Harley had 577 subs. Right now, it says that he has 579 subs. So I think we can give you at least one more. So we'll find that one more.
I hope so.
Well, we could always hold off on this wheel until we have that one more guy.
Yeah.
I mean, I know we're on a delay, but I'm just saying.
I'm going to unsubscribe and resubscribe again.
Yeah. Get that wheel spinning. John Wayne donated $10 to Super Chat. He said that's what Will Fly said. What Will Fly said. And he's talking about Resurgence PPG.
Well, let me know. Do you want?
Wheel. Yeah, let it.
All
rip.
right, then let's do this. This is for an awesome patch. Ready? Go.
Yeah, I like those flight jackets. That's probably I think it's mandatory. You're going to need one of those aviation patches. Want to mention maxacro.com. Maxacro.com is the website. If you want to go sign up for an SIV clinic here in sunny Southern California, it's been raining like every day, but that's okay because we desperately needed the rain, fill up some of these reservoirs. Maxacro.com. You're going to get to do some SIV clinics, maybe, or want to sign up, go overseas. They're doing some training overseas as well. All kinds of things that you can sign up for. Go to maxacro.com.
Oh, it's going to be a close one.
I'm guessing it's going to be just me.
Oh, I don't know. It's going to, it might be. I don't know.
Oh, man.
It's going to be close. What a
Gerald.
nail biter. Congratulations, Gerald Calipos.
Gerald,
I'm sure I butchered that.
Congratulations, winner, chicken dinner. You are the winner. Gerald, so what you're going to need to do is you're going to need to reach out. Actually, you're not going to reach out to me. You're going to reach out to Harley Milne at 50X Challenge. What do we need? An email? How do we want to do it?
You can direct message me through Facebook, or you could even send an email through dreamlifterparamotors.com.
There you go. Bada boom, bada bing. By the way, 50X Challenge, Harley Milne is incredibly organized, which is going to lead me to my next portion of this show. I have high hopes for dreamlifterparamotors.com. Now, we always talk about in life in general, you want to do a job that you enjoy doing. So if you can get paid doing what you want to do, that's like the pinnacle of life, right? So if you don't have to go and do a 5 to 9 like me and Gringo do every day. If you can do what you want to do, which Harley, I can already tell is an incredible teacher, because he tells you things and you'll remember them. Just his storytelling, and it has a great deal to do with the South African accent. But also, he knows what he's talking about. He's been around the block a few times. He may not be a 20-year veteran paramotor guy, but he's got the 20 years worth of experience because he's done so many things. So anyways, he is, because he's a sponsor of the show, obviously there's going to be some things that I'm going to be doing on my end. You're going to see there's going to be some emails that are going to be coming to you. And then there's some stuff that's going to be on our website and stickers and all those things. But let's talk about what people can expect. How are you going to stand out compared to the most? And there's schools, not so much here in Southern California, so you're not going to have like a ton of competition, but talk to us about because there is a bunch of people that are going to be searching up when they're looking for their school. They're going to look up your name. This video is going to show up on YouTube.
Sure.
What are you going to bring to the table? What do you have to offer?
So I didn't make this decision lightly to start a school, and in fact, for the longest time, I've kind of resisted, wanting to start a school. But particularly over the last 3 or so years, I do keep getting approached by individuals that would like either some initial training, or in some cases, it's someone who needs some additional training. They went through some other program and they either didn't get airborne or they did, but they're not feeling particularly confident. And so I've worked with a few people over the last couple of years privately, and I did recently just take a PG pilot that approached me and said, hey, I think I can do this in about 3 or 4 days. And, it actually took a little bit more work. And I think he realized as we got going that there's more to the sport and so forth. So I've actually been looking for a location for 2 years. And I finally find a private airport that I can use up in Sonoma. And I'm still working on some other alternatives for when the weather and conditions are not ideal. So, when I think of the schools that are available here in Northern California, is Blackhawk Paramotors. That's where I learned. It's a fantastic school. Mike Robinson has had that business for a long time. And I learned with a gentleman by the name of Joe Cruz, who was an incredible instructor. And I wouldn't be doing this today had it not been for Joe. Most people don't know this about me, but I broke an ankle on my very first landing. And most of the other people that I had started to learn to fly with were up flying in about 4 days. I was on day 6, so I was behind the curve. And this whole paramotor thing and flying in general has never been natural to me. I've had to work incredibly hard to get to where I am. And so I broke that ankle, and the doctors didn't think I was going to walk again that year. And 4.5 months later, I was back and continued my training and got another 10 flights in. And then it turned out, because of the glasses I was wearing, I stalled the glider at about 5 or 6 feet off the ground. And I broke the other ankle because I was favoring the one that was still healing from the previous one. And so I had a rough start, the first, 8 or 9 months, despite having a really good instructor, I struggled. And but it was because of Joe's persistence. He basically said, hey, buddy, just come back here and help me out and, practice your kiting, help me teach other people kiting. And I actually became very good at kiting. And so it was like, a year later almost, he was like, oh, just bring the paramotor out. We'll do some taxi practice. And brought the glider up, and it was perfect, and taxiing down the runway, and he's like, all right, full throttle, go. And I was shaking my head, I'm not going, and full throttle, go. And I shook my head some more, and I didn't want to go. And finally, the third time he said it, I took off, and there I was back in the air, and I flew around a few minutes, came back and landed, set up, and I did it again. And so, that kind of excitement, the way I learned from Joe, despite, getting hurt because of my own stupidity, it was really what Joe did for me that has always stuck by me. And in fact, so many of the paramotor pilots, that is, their passion for teaching is there. And so, for many years, it took me many years before I was even half decent enough, to take off and land, that I felt that I had something to share. And so part of what the 50-state tour did was solidify my personal capabilities. And so, coast to coast, and now Sonoma has continued to build my experience to fly in all kinds of different conditions. And I finally feel that I have this rounded experience. I mean, I spent, a very long apprenticeship with Joe, and I learned to teach there. I became an instructor, I think nearly 5 years ago, and I've taught, probably a dozen people over the last few years to do that. So it's been a long progression to get to where I am. But when I consider that, these Blackhawk Paramotors and Dave Jewell, those are the only 2 real options, have very different programs. And when I've looked at all the schools that I've gone to around the country, and I like the aviator program, I love the way Ron down at Lone Star teaches. I've had a fair amount of time to talk to Justin Fox and Leading Edge, and goodness, his name is going to escape me. He's going to kick me in the butt for it, because I just had a conversation with him the other day. But these guys all have great teaching programs, and so I've spent some time talking to them, trying to see what they might be willing to lend me or sell me, even, because I don't necessarily want to reinvent the wheel, but I do want to take all those great components and really build them into what I do, that I hope will have a nice value package that's an alternative to what's already available here, but also just provide greater availability to get training here in Northern California. So that's kind of how I got here, and why I went ahead and did it. And I'm super excited. I think one other quick thing I'll mention around it is that I've been working with Noah at USPPA as well, who is continuing to evolve the teaching program that we have there, essentially the syllabus, but also to create some more supplemental materials and supplemental training topics that all instructors will be able to adopt. And I think you can teach anyone the basics of paramotoring to control a wing and get in the air and make a landing, but I do feel there's this other portion about understanding how the gliders work, how to take care of some basic maintenance on your motors, because we all know as paramotor pilots we become our own engineers and service technicians and all that kind of thing. And then there's things like weather, and I've had a lot of training around weather, both for flying drones. I have an airman certificate.
Oh, that's right.
That. And then of course now, both as a private pilot and now particularly as an instrument rated pilot, it's kind of solidified a lot of that additional stuff around weather. So it's all those additional topics. This is ground school aspect that I think a lot of schools, for any number of reasons, don't spend as much time on for pilots as maybe they need to. And so that is something that I feel is kind of critical, and it's an important part of how I intend to do things. I also want to look at avenues where we can make more of that ground school learning and training available before people even come to a class, much in the same way that you would do that as a regular pilot. You read through all these materials, you watch all the videos, and then you take the ground school exam, and then you come to class finally, and you build it all together. If people are interested in doing that, then I'm going to try and find a way to do that. But Noah's been great with some materials, and then of course talking to all these other instructors around the country that I really do respect their programs is critical. And of course, when the rubber hits the road, I got to work at it and make it better. But I think my 20 years of teaching scuba diving students, and also from teaching some other students and spending time in different roles, I think I bring a nice rounded package that can be calm and collected, and help people achieve their goal to fly.
Yeah, that's probably the most exciting thought that I have. If I ever go down the road of instructing, that just sending somebody up, even if I don't become an instructor, I'm sure somewhere down the road I'm going to help somebody to get their feet off the ground, just because, man, it's such a cool thing. You to be able to make it happen for somebody.
Right.
By the way, we're trolling you in the chat, by the way, right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I posted a poll. Can you see it?
Probably not. No.
Yeah. So the question was, it was a poll, and it said, how many props has Harley broken in total? And so I put the answers. You get to choose 2, 5, 10, or more. 21% of the people polled said more.
No, I'm very good at braking myself, not gear.
Yeah.
Believe it or not, I've actually, up until the 50 state tour, I'd never broken a prop, but it's always these big events that I'm trying to do where I'm really pushing the boundaries that I break things. And so I did. I broke one prop on the, actually, I broke two props on the 50 state tour, one on the coast to coast, and I broke two very expensive props.
Sonoma.
Yeah. One lasted about 30 seconds. I mean, it did not last very long. But I think Nancy, I forget her last name, has me pretty beat. Some of you might remember she would come down to, I think Nancy Deere was her name. Just someone who was very determined to go, and I think struggled a lot. And I every time I saw her, she broke at least a prop or two.
Yeah, I hesitate to confess, but I broke two props in one day.
Yeah.
You talk about heartbreak.
Yeah. I think one of the toughest ones I saw, and I think he was a little embarrassed at the time, but he broke a 6-blade prop in front of the ozone rep at one of the Florida fly-ins. And it was heartbreaking to see, because it's a beautiful prop. And it's just one of those things where you push sometimes. And 6-blade prop, that was a very expensive morning.
Yeah, Jason said cha-ching. I wonder how much that was.
Yeah,
gotta be $1,000.
Paramotor Props made some money on that day.
Yeah, they sure did.
That's
by
funny.
the way, you went up 7. You're at 586 subs on YouTube.
Whoa,
let's go.
That's more than I thought. Right on, guys. That's pretty cool. And this video is going to play forever too. So there'll be some random people that are like, what the heck? I'm going to have to sub to that guy.
Yeah.
Well, if they were late to watch the show, they can do us a favor because they were late. They can sub.
Right. Yeah. I mean,
make it up to us.
I'm proud of that film. I spent a fair amount of time on it, and I'm only sorry it took so long, but I like the material that's there, and for anyone who's happy to watch 20 minutes, I think it's well worth it.
I just shared the link to that video you shared with me in the email. I hope that's okay. Yeah, I don't think you released it yet.
Oh, like I did. Don't share that one.
It's already on there.
Take that one off, because I'm going to take that one down.
You missed it. If you didn't click it, you're too late.
No, I mean, there's 2 official links, which I think Anthony put up there, of the official part 1 and part 2. I think what I sent you was a sneak preview.
So if you were fast, you got the worm right there.
Yeah, exactly.
And it's gone now.
But
that's awesome. I asked you in the private chat, but I know you're focused on the show. Last week's guest was incredible. He was batting questions as they came. He, with the after show for the first time ever, was better than the actual show. So all the people that hung out with afterward, he didn't want to get off. He woke up at 3:00 in the morning, 2:30 in the morning, to come on the show. And then he brought a bunch of stuff to the table. He's overachiever. Obviously, he's a test pilot. I go back and watch the episode. It's incredible.
A man that loves what he does.
He figured he was already up. He's going to stay up the rest of the day. Started his day.
You want to zing off a few questions quickly? I'll see.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it. Let's try and knock off. We've got about 6 minutes left. So. Yes.
Yeah. If we've got a couple questions. One of those. Tori Pope asked, Harley, how many props did you use for your challenge? That kind of got answered. What was it, like 5? 2. Wilson, favorite helmet, favorite aviation radio. That was from Wilson.
Yeah, I don't necessarily have a favorite helmet, and the ones that I have used, they're okay. I like the iCaro brand. I don't I can't afford them, but yeah, and I think I answered the radio. It's the microavionics one.
I thought it'd be the one that makes you look like a MiG pilot, a MiG, a Russian pilot, or a
Oh, yeah, that thing's
Oh
bad.
yeah, no, that helmet isn't very practical, right? It's great for the trips, and I love it for really cold weather and when it's super bright out. But I would not recommend that for anyone. Goodness, there's this Chinese company that I got one from, and they're pretty run of the mill. I think other people have had better experiences with some of the helmets they've had. So I don't have a favorite helmet yet.
Do you have, did you get to keep this is from, who is this? Duck Spit PPG. Did Avionics let you keep the Ping 2020i?
Yes. Yeah.
Nice.
I still have that. I'm still promoting it. I've still reached out by quite a lot of different people that are working to actually register their paramotors and then get one of the ADSBs. They've done a couple updates, and they've got a couple of other ideas that Mark Ingman and a couple of others have been testing. This unit is great for the United States. Of course, if you are in Europe, there is actually a different model that's you don't need your paramotor to be registered, and you can just buy that and utilize it. So it's great from that perspective. And then I guess when I plan my cross borders, and then I'll be probably using a slightly different model for that. But I'm going to try and do a cross border from the United States trip at some point, and then I have a big water crossing. Right, my Alaska to Russia is still very much on hold, but I have another idea. I don't think I'm going to get to do it here in 2023. But if I don't know, if we land up with a big recession, maybe I don't know how I'll pay for it, but I have a big idea for a big water crossing. I had talked about doing Lake Michigan, but back in August or September, a gentleman did successfully fly 70 miles across water and across Michigan. So I do think that's probably one of the biggest water crossings done on a foot launch paramotor. That's pretty big.
Yeah.
What I want to do will make that look small, but yeah, those are just a couple of ideas for 23, 24.
Wow. Stoked about that. There was another question from Jason Ellis. Can anyone get the waiver for night flying? How did you achieve that?
Yeah,
we talked a little bit about that.
Yeah, the short answer is the FAA made it very, very clear to me that this is not something they're going to be handing out to everyone who makes an application. Mine was given very specifically for the airports that I plan to go to for that trip between a very specific set of dates, right? I kind of asked them for a blanket one, and they laughed. And so there's no ways to get that. And they also made it clear that they would not have issued that waiver to an unlicensed pilot. So really the thing that sealed it and made it possible was the fact that I was a private pilot with night experience, and that I was going to do all the essential equipment upgrades to the paramotor to succeed at doing that. There is only one other person who's ever received a waiver to fly at night for an ultralight, not even paramotors, and that was for a gentleman who lived out in the middle of nowhere with his own private field. And once again, they created very, very strict criteria around being able to fly within a very small range of his private property. So this would not be something that's easy, but the FAA, if you can make a good case and demonstrate that you can do these things safely, and they're not worried about the legal aspects and so forth. I mean, It's not an easy task. Mine took 6 months, and it can take longer if necessary. So it's a tough one to get.
That's great information. Jim Furman asked, hey, Harley, are you still using the ADSB, or was it only for the Sonoma Oshkosh flight?
I still use it in limited capacity. It depends on the type of flying that I'm doing and where I'm flying as to whether I use it or not. I'm like most guys, right? If I'm just flying around in circles and doing loop-the-loop and just doing a short, probably 40 or 50 mile run back and forth, and I'm low and I'm not hanging out in busy airspace, I don't need it for that. So I think it's one of the things I wanted to point out to you. It's a great safety tool. It's not for everybody. I don't think everybody needs one. But in certain scenarios, if you do these big cross countries and you're flying high, or you want to fly in busy airspace, even if it's uncontrolled airspace, right? Class E is the biggest airspace next to Class A that we have access to. Well, just it's important to pick your poison and play it safe. So if you're doing big long trips and you're high and you're in busy airspace, it's a valuable tool. It just gives other people the visibility instead of just relying on your capability to see other people.
Just going to mention a couple sponsors. One of those is Lone Star Paramotor. If you're in the Lone Star state of Texas, you can reach out to Ron Turan and his team for world-class training. That's Lone Star Paramotor.com. Also want to mention Resurgence PPG. It's that time of year where you've got to deal with your tax stuff. 501c3, they're tax deductible donations. You send your donations to resurgenceppg.com. By doing that, you're supporting our men and women of uniform. Reach out to Todd Scandrett and support our soldiers. And they gave up their lives, put their lives on the line for us. Let's give up something for them. So we're going to go to the after show. You can see the links in the description. If you want to join us, we're going to hang out for a little bit. I don't know if Harley's going to hang on, but yeah, it's in the chat. Yeah, yep. In the chat, not the description, in the chat. So you want to jump on, hang out with us for a little bit, watch me eat my dinner. You're welcome to come hang out. We always have a good time in the after show. So thanks for watching. If I don't see you on the air,